of our association. Mr. Dolphin, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Matteo. Dear colleagues, members of the European Parliament, dear friends of our association. It's really a honor and really glad this evening to see so many people in this room for this first debate which we have after the European elections, just at the end of the first working week of the new European Parliament. And this, I'm aware, is possible because there was a huge work of cooperation between different groups, the Spinelli Group, the Union of European Federalists, the European Movement France and Alsace, and the Young Europeans of Strasbourg. So thank you very much to all of you. There are also a lot of pro-European activists in the room. I've been told that many of you traveled from different member states to Strasbourg today and in the last days in order to assist, to be here for the first working week of the new Parliament, and it's really an honor to have you here at the end of this week in our villa in our association. Today is an important day. You know, we'll be elected, we voted today for the President of the Commission with a good result. Ursula von der Leyen got a clear majority, and this is for sure an important signal at the beginning of this legislative term. And I personally think that in the speech, maybe some of you heard it this morning, which Ursula von der Leyen gave in the plenary, she underlined all the important topics of our days, so competitiveness, climate change, the geopolitical situation, the war in Ukraine, the war in Gaza, but also the rule of law, and the fight for democracy inside Europe and outside Europe. So there are a lot of challenges, and I think it is important that we gave today a signal of stability in an unstable world. This is extremely important in this moment. But I felt today during the debate, and maybe also some of my colleagues, the tone in the Parliament becomes more extremist, becomes more nationalist, and I think therefore it's even more important that the democratic or European Centre stands together and works for the future of this Europe. So a lot of things to debate this evening, and it's really a pleasure that 4 of my colleagues are here this evening for this debate. Thank you very much. You'll have time in this wonderful evening and at the end of an intensive working week. That is Gabrielle Bischoff from the S&D Group in the European Parliament. She was also Vice President of the she's also Vice President of the S&D Group in the European Parliament. Then Sandro, an Italian elected in France, member of the European Parliament from France, and a member of the EU Europe Group, and he was also and has been President of the Spinelli Group in the European Parliament. Then Toussaint, she's a member from France, and she's Vice President of the Group of the Greens, European Free Alliance. And last but not least, Željana Zovko, a member of the European Parliament from Croatia with a long working career as a diplomat, so she has a bit both sides. She worked in embassies and was an ambassador herself, and is now a member of the European Parliament for the European People's Party. So I'm looking forward to have really an interesting debate, and I hand over first to Moritz Hervè, the President of the European Movement France, and then to Matteo Angeli, who will guide us, as always, in this very interesting debate. So also to you, Matteo, thank you very much for your for this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dolphin. Let's jump straight into our debate and start with the news of the day. I'm starting this whole. And start with the news of the day. the decision of the European Parliament to confirm Ursula von der Leyen as President of the European Commission. Gabrielle Bischoff, how do you feel after this crucial vote?
I think, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. I know that many of you had long travels to get here, and I think it was a great message on a day like this that you were standing in front of the European Parliament to reiterate really that we need and that is good because we, the members of the European Parliament, can only be strong on these issues if there are movements around like UEF and others, and I'm also a proud member and vice president of the German Federalist Union that fight for this. So this day, I think, was the highlight of already an exciting week in the Parliament, and I think for me the important message is that the pro-European forces stand together. This is a message also for the next 5 years and an important message. I think you said it, there are more extremists, but I think also more crazy people in the Parliament. That was my impression today, to say it very openly. So I think for Europe it's a good day. It's the first step now. The next step is ahead, that will be to make many things much more concrete in the hearings of the different commissioners. But if such a pro-European clear majority works, I mean, Ursula von der Leyen came in our political group, we debated our priorities with her, we did send her also a letter, we got a feedback there, and many of the points that we addressed are in there. And I was, as a federalist, especially happy also because she emphasized very clearly treaty changes, that she supports that as a process. Sometimes when we had the conference on the future of Europe, we thought a stronger support of the Commission wouldn't have been bad. But now I think it's an important signal also to connect it to enlargement, and to say enlargement is not possible if we don't reform and also have stronger capacity to act. And even an indirect reference to Spinelli. So I think from a German SPD and federalist approach, it's a good day for Europe.
Thank you very much. And Sandro, Gozi, what's your point of view about this election? And especially as a member of the Renew Group, but also with your federalist perspective.
First of all, thank you to you, Matteo and Hervè, for this excellent organization, and thanks all to all the federalists who came from other regions of France, from Italy, from Belgium, from Germany, and I hope I don't forget other countries. It was really great. It's really great. Pardon? Estonia, see. Thanks. This is why we always need Željana to Greece, of course. Yeah, but I'm not a member of the parliament. Come on, he's a member of the parliament. Come on, I'm talking about les militants. I'm talking about the real federalists, the real citizens who move, not because they had to vote to some of the land, but because they wanted to give a very strong message to their representative in the European Parliament. And so thank you for being here. Thank you for the excellent initiative this morning. You know, Hervè, we come from different political families and different political groups. But what unites us, it has always been uniting the pro-European forces since the Robert Schuman Declaration, since the conference, since the moment where Piero Spinelli was writing the manifesto of the European. We think that our common destiny lies in a more united Europe. And the cleavage is more and more here. We will come back on that. So I think that it was very important that we were very united in the different group. Of course, there are some colleagues who made the different choice, but there was a very strong unity among the pro-European forces, and it was a clear cleavage between us and the new nationalists, or the old nationalists, the extreme right and the extreme left. And this is exactly what Altiero Spinelli had foreseen in the manifesto. The cleavage will be more and more between the pro-European progressive federalist forces that think that the only way to move ahead lies in Europe, and the nationalist forces that would like to remain imprisoned in their national borders. I think that what happened this morning in the European Parliament was really a clear picture of this, so I think it was a good day, and as my last point, Matteo, as I had the honor to represent Renew in the Team Europe, we are three speaker candidates of Renew Europe, and I had the chance to debate with Ursula von der Leyen twice. Well, she has taken a step ahead, because when we were debating during the electoral campaign about revision, her answer was, if and where it is necessary in the treaty, I would support revision. Today, she said that we cannot unify the continent without unifying the treaty. I consider this as a victory of the federalist forces within the parliament and outside the parliament.
Thank you, Mr. Gozi. Željana, Zovko, this time the majority supporting von der Leyen is broader, but also more left-wing than it was 5 years ago. As a member of the EPP group, are you happy with the current political balance, or would you have preferred a broader coalition, including also other parties?
Thank you very much again. I think this is a great day for all of us that Ursula von der Leyen was voted. We have achieved stability after the great result that we have achieved with the election of Roberta Metsola as well in the Parliament. That confirms that European People's Party is the biggest group that orientates direction which this shift will be saving in the future. Whether this is, I would not call this winner today. Everyone can say that few votes, because the voting was a secret. So we have achieved a great support for Ursula von der Leyen.
We know that the Greens were the kingmakers.
Greens can say and they can give their statement, and that's very good for them to support Ursula von der Leyen. But I think that all pro-European forces have supported Ursula von der Leyen. And whether they are from a left or a right spectrum, what we understand is that all these nationalists and those who are against Europe did not support her. But I would say that we are still keeping this conservative centrist view on that Ursula von der Leyen has presented in her speech. And I would not say that I voted for left majority supporting Ursula von der Leyen. I think that as a Vice President of the European People's Party, this alliance and this deal that we have made with Renew and with Socialists, together with EPP, stay the coalition bill that we have approved, and this coalition has made Ursula von der Leyen President of the Commission. And the Commission that will be directed with the guidance that we have already discussed with Ursula von der Leyen. So I would not say that this is a one. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Toussaint, you are a member of the Greens. What's the position of the group? The Greens, they with the majority? Are they in the majority of Ursula von der Leyen or out? And what's your personal point of view about this election?
Thank you, Angeli. Thank you, thanks to all of you. I think it's really great to see how many you are tonight. I know it was hard to even have people enter in the room, and I really want to thank you, because it's true when we listen at who is elected in the European Parliament, or the big discourses that were made during this campaign, we can feel that, well, if we believe them, we can feel that the will to be part of this great adventure that is the European project has gone. But what you showed tonight, I think, is that it's still very much alive. It's intergenerational, it's large, it's coming from throughout the continent, people who are coming just to build the European project. So I really want to thank you for that, and of course all the organizations. And I will say also that I will join the Spinelli Group. But it shouldn't surprise you so much because I come from a very federalist party, maybe the most federalist of them. So we're still involved and we try to be complementary to each other. So now it's my turn to come with you. About what happened today, I want to get back to where we were on the night of the European elections. We had this big growth, actually, of the national populist parties, of the extreme right parties. They've even managed to create 3 different groups in the European Parliament, and they have some other people that are isolated, but still they're alone. We also have a big EPP group, and I am saying that also because even from the EPP, the speech that was given during the campaign was an anti-Green, and an anti-Green Deal speech in most of the European countries, especially ours, and we know that, for instance, the French EPP have voted against von der Leyen, maybe for that reason, among others today. The Greens did vote in majority in favor of Ursula von der Leyen. You'll be able to answer it. But the Greens voted in majority in favor of Ursula von der Leyen. Why did they do that? Because what was really important for us was to have this cordon sanitaire in the European Parliament. It was to say, if it is between the extreme right parties, whatever they would be, and us, we would take our responsibilities. And what we saw in the European Parliament this week, with the election of Roberta Metsola, with the election of the vice chairs of the European Parliament, and with the speech of Ursula von der Leyen this morning, did give some hints that it might be the right direction, and especially the cons of the vote. Of course, it's a secret vote, we don't know, but gives us kind of a feeling that it was the right bet to do. However, we also have signs that show that this is quite weak, that we still need to fight in this direction, and also, and that explains the vote that I had, and with other Greens from Southern Europe mostly, to vote finally against this designation and this coalition. Why is that? Because first, I told you it's weak. Second, because on the Green Deal, and I hope we can discuss it more, we have some commitments, but also a lot of countersigns. And a lot of fears that we would indeed go backwards, despite the fact that this is not written. Third reason is that there is no will, and this is also about European integration, and that's something that I'm telling you also because we need to work on that together. There is a will to go to a treaty changes, and this is really good. But there is no real will, at least not in the paper, not in the speech, to go towards more integration when it comes to monetary, budgetary, fiscal issues. And this is something that we really need to push for. The European Union won't be able to act neither on green transformation, on social justice, but also on reindustrialization if we don't go towards more Europe, towards a more integrated and structured Europe. This is what motivated my vote, but of course I will do like in the last mandate the Greens group did. It's to work in a constructive way on each text, on each project, to get towards more Europe, more social justice, and more green transition.
Željana Zovko wanted to react quickly to what Ms. Toussaint said.
I just want to say that as far as I know, Mr. Strack-Zimmermann said that she did not vote for Ursula von der Leyen. She's from the Renew and she's planning to become the chair of SEDEF. And I know, but you know, if we are not asking a particular member of the parliament what was his vote and what was the vote of the French MEPs in EPP group, I cannot say who voted for, who voted against, but I know that after our meeting, I understood that everyone was happy at the EPP group meeting with her speech. We had discussion, long discussion during 3 days in Kashkash. We had our colleagues here, Mr. Ferber and Mr. Dorfman. We addressed all these issues that the German industry has suffered and competitivity due to the fact that we stormed into the changes without preparing our industry, without preparing our cultural small and medium, without preparing our small and medium enterprises, and all the national governments have suffered. We have seen a great polarization in France that resulted in chaos, and we are having and saving at this moment. The French government is. We don't know how to save the French stability at the moment. No, but I was ambassador in France, and I've never seen this situation of a crisis that I have seen last days and last months before after the catastrophic results, that all this very idealistic approach to the new world without taking care of what is going on in geopolitical field that we have taken upon us. And I know that Ursula von der Leyen has made a dramatic change. I'm a vice president of our group, and she has made a dramatic change into her approach to the Green Deal, to agriculture, to fishermen. I'm coming from Croatia, where on the islands we have big videos from fishermen who were supposed to be to be taken out of their business that they had for centuries. And so all these things that we are not taking into account, and we are not discussing, I mean, all this idealistic approach that comes from, I don't know, Champs-Élysées or from salons, and without having a real touch with the people, we have preserved the Croatian stability, government, and real stability as well of the normal way of life of our citizens. But I would not say that for Germany, for competitivity in Germany that pays the biggest burden out of our taxpayers' money into the budget of European Union. So I would, these kind of things are quite difficult to digest, and we have managed to win this election EPP. We have managed to win with a great number of votes as well the President of the Parliament, and we have managed also to keep a balance and to make a sort of cordon sanitaire towards these nationalistic parties and anti-European and anti-rule of law. But what we are not good at, and that's public relations, because I'm coming from a small city where, you used to play backgammon, and whoever comes first to the city cafe would claim his victory. But the truth lies there. We have preserved, EPP has preserved stability, and we are trying to sail this boat, which is in very shaky waters, because of the transatlantic situation and also the situation in the world that is not, it's not very nice.
Thank you very much. Gabrielle, maybe about this debate, your point of view, and also about your top priorities for the EU. What are the priorities reform pushed by your group in the Commission deal with Ursula von der Leyen?
Let me just refer, because I'm coming from Germany, and Germany was mentioned 1 or 2 times, and the economy. If you, we have a very strong industrial sector, and here what the companies, and I am a lot talking to people there, is everyone supports the Green Deal because they know that it is essential. What they want is that they have a good planning capacity. Here, and I think that is very important for the companies and also you look at the situation in the US, it's really a challenge. If you look at a lot of incentives the American government is giving to companies from all over the world to go there, and the European answer so far is not on the same level. So I think we have a lot of work to do regarding competitiveness, but we have to say that the European economy is very innovative and that we further have to strengthen this. This is why I think it was also a good message of von der Leyen to have this innovation capacity, because we have to improve where we are good at. But I think also at the same time, energy prices were mentioned and others, and here we need a lot of investment. Also to strengthen Europe and to make sure that the companies can stay here and support it. But I wouldn't paint a dark picture here, in the contrary. And this is what I mentioned when I said we have unity today of the pro-European forces, but we will have these debates in concrete detail when we discuss and organize the hearings on the Commissioner, because then we will talk to the Commissioner on the Green Deal and say, what does it mean that you say, yes, we keep on the goals of the Green Deals or in other areas? But this is the second step. We will be doing after the summer break in a lot of details, and we have to find also and to see where is the majority here, and make sure that in the end also there will be a support for a work program of the Commission, and also for the different candidates that will be there. But it's one step after the other here. This was just a general comment, and I think for us it is very important. Indeed, we need a strong and innovative industrial base. For us it has to be also socially balanced. I think here we need much more concrete initiatives here. We have the transitions. Yes, it was mentioned. Just transitions is very important, that we leave no one behind here, and also come up with concrete legal proposals here. I think to invest in skills will be essential for the economy, but also for the people in Europe connected to these transitions, but also because we have a huge lack of skilled workforce, but at the same time we still have a lot of groups like women and other groups that would like to participate in the labor market, but we lack enough childcare, we lack enough social infrastructure to do this, and here we have to improve. We have to get better here. But as a federalist, I also would like to talk about the treaty changes, and for us to overcome unanimity is essential. It is the step that we don't sort of cripple ourselves here as a European Union. We will come in very, very rough water, really rough water in this term. I think if you look around in the world, you can see it. So we really need a Europe that is capable to act. And here we have to do our job, and at the same time improving working and living conditions for Europeans. I think to offer young people more than a dialogue, but very good job opportunities and also possibilities to participate is essential for us. And I think also the question of security in a more double sense. On one hand, security really in terms of the threats we have around, but also security within the countries, which also includes, from my point of view and our point of view, social security, also with new forms of world with AI. It's a lot that we can do together in the next 5 years, so that people think, okay, Europe is there, it gives us security, it protects us in an unstable world, but it gives us also the best opportunities, because we also have, I think, the best trained youth we ever had. And with this, again, to have a vision for Europe and also a vision for the people that they can experience themselves, that Europe is delivering for them, because also we have a strong European Parliament, we find compromises and majorities, and we deliver to citizens.
Thank you very much. Let's make a step backwards. Before you all agreed that the new parliament is much more to the right than the previous one. There are 3 political groups to the right of the EPP. Mr. Gozi, I ask you, how do you make sense, how do you, as members of the governing majority, make sense of this shift to the right? How do you take it into account?
First of all, I would use the right word. And the right word is not right, it's extreme right. And there is a strong difference between the right and the extreme right. We got 3 groups of extreme right, which are nationalists, which are xenophobic, which are united only in the will of destroying the union. And this is the reality. And this is the reality which put on the majority who elected this morning, Ursula von der Leyen, a higher responsibility and a heavier burden. I think that we voted in favor of Ursula von der Leyen, first of all, because we recognize ourselves in some key priorities to reshape Europe. Now we must be demanding, very demanding, and as united as possible in ensuring that this priority will be implemented, in ensuring the delivery. Because we believe that in this priority there are many answers to the anger, to the worry, to the anxiety that push part of our citizens to choose to opt for the extreme right or for the extreme left. So not only we have to implement those priorities because we take a political commitment, but because we believe that fighting against social inequalities, introducing social and financial flanking measures to make the Green Deal acceptable for everybody, increasing the democracy, modifying the treaty because we don't want to be hostage of the veto of Viktor Orban when we need to sanction Putin. These are all very concrete answers to our citizens. So this is what we have to do. And we are all federalists, but each of us comes from a political family, and I'm very relieved that I hope that all the colleagues here and cycle understood who is ECR. I would like to stress that ECR is an extreme right nationalist group which decided rightly from their perspective, coherently from their perspective, to say no to Ursula von der Leyen and to say no to the priority challenge. So let's not give in the temptation of trying to give a different picture. Giorgia Meloni is extreme right, okay, and the allies are extreme right. So I mean, we have also to say where are the cleavages, because if we are clear with the cleavages, we will be more efficient in implementing the priority. I think this should be our answer to an cycle which certainly is much more divided than used to be. So that means that we have to be much more consistent with what we say and did this morning.
But a compromise will need to be found also with Meloni. She plays an important role on the council. What's her position on this one?
That she made a big mistake because she mixed up the roles. Of course, it won't be me that it's safe to say that Italy, a big family member, doesn't deserve an important portfolio in the European Commission. Of course, but Italy has always got important portfolio. Because when also these inefficient and bloody people of the center left, to whom I used to belong in Italy, we were in government. We had a president of the Commission, Romano Prodi. We had an high representative, Federica Mogherini. We had a competition commissioner, Mario Monti. We had a single market commissioner, Mario Monti. So now, as Giorgia Meloni is so efficient, the only Italian in town, only her knows how to protect Italy. Only her knows how to promote the Italian. I hope that she will do what a prime minister should do. But she should give up the head of the leader of the year. She's mixing up the roles. And this mixing up of the roles, being at the same time leader of the European political party of the extreme right and the Italian Prime Minister, has put herself in a corner. And this is the point. So of course I'm not against in giving what Italy deserves, but she should stop to play on a double table because it weakens Italy and it weakens the world.
We want to start the big backlash during the campaign. It will be maybe stronger also inside this new European Parliament. What do you expect from the Commission? What do you want to push in the next Commission's working program for the next years?
Thank you. Before answering your question, I want to get back on some sentences that have been said that I deeply disagree with, and I think we need to be absolutely cautious about them. First thing, there are two things. First thing is, I've been hearing, this is the new coalition of the pro-European forces. And all those who are outside of it are anti-European. I'm hearing as well comparisons between extreme right and extreme left, like who is extreme left to the European Parliament. But I want to say, we cannot go into the there is no alternative. This is not a positive bet for the European, for all of those who want to build the European Union. There are different ways of building the European project. The one is more conservative, the one is more progressive. The one is more green, the one is less green. But all are different ways of building the European Union, and we should not act as if there was only one way. Why do I say that? And why do I say that this is dangerous? Because that's what the national populists, that's what the extreme right is saying. For the French people, you remember well how Marine Le Pen for years have been talking about UMPS, bringing the letters of the socialist and conservative group together. If they can tell of us, pro-Europeans, that we're all the same, that in any case when you vote for us, you vote for the same policy, that raises the same issues for the people, then we're dead. So this is really something that we absolutely need to avoid. There can be different ways. There are different ways of building the European project, and we still need to continue fighting for them, expressing them, saying how different they are, and what they can offer as different ways, both for the people and for the European project. The second thing is that when I hear some sentences here, but also in the European Parliament this week, and especially in the mouth of Olalla Pastor del Valle, who I voted for to be President of the European Parliament, I'm kind of feeling that this thing about we're not working with the extreme right, but this carton sanitaire, is changing of meaning. There is a shift in the way we address this issue about extreme right. Before, talking about the extreme right was talking about the opponents of democracy and the opponents of human dignity, of the equality of human dignity. This was what characterized the extreme right. And now, it's a bit different. Now, when I listen to political debates, especially in the European cycle, I'm hearing that being extreme right is about destroying the European Union. Being extreme right is about not being in favor of Ukraine. But we need to be really conscious and very precise about what it means. If we accept people that refuse human dignity because they are pro-Europeans, we're dead. So we need to get back to the fundamental values of the European Union: human dignity, the equality of human dignity, the refusal of torture against human beings. And I'm sorry, all my words, correct words, I'm not going to my mouth in English, and I'm a lawyer, so I really dislike when I don't use the correct words, but I think you get what I'm saying. We need to get back to the bottom of what is the extreme right and what are the values that they defend, or else we're going to get lost in translation, to take the title of a good movie. Now about this parliament and the general context. It has been 2 years when we hear all those lobbies, productivist lobbies, commuter lobbies, saying that the green transition is the problem. We even heard Roberta Metsola herself saying that climate policy was feeding populism in the European Union. Well, I disagree with that. I think that the climate catastrophe, the environmental catastrophe, is feeding the extreme right throughout Europe. And if you take at the map, if you look at the electoral map, you can see that I'm right. That, for instance, in the north of France, when there was all the floodings because of the lack of care for climate change and biodiversity, there the vote for the extreme right exploded. When you look at the south of France, when there is no more water, when there are some industries that left, leaving behind them a lot of chemical products that made the price of the houses go down, because this is not livable anymore, this is not safe anymore, then the vote of the extreme right is exploding. This is the fact of not dealing with the consequences of climate change and the destruction of the environment and of health that is causing the extreme right to rise. And for this we need to give the right solutions. Problem is they take a long time. So we need to address them, both in a way that answer to very urgent needs, but at the same time go into a long time during transformation of our economy. So our priorities for this parliament, for us, it's a just transition. We cannot adopt environmental goals, environmental ambitions, without caring with the transformation of the economy and with social justice. This is the second point. For us, the fight against poverty is essential. We have seen poverty explode in Europe in the 3 last years. But it was already too big before. There were too many inequalities, too many injustices before. And if we want to go back to the roots of the European Union, but also if you want to be green, green is about equality. It's about equality of human dignity. It's about getting the same life expectancy for all. Would you be exposed to pollutants or not? So if you want to get there, you need to fight against poverty and to make it not only words, but a real strategy. And we are expecting the very first, as Ursula von der Leyen called it, a strategy to fight against poverty in the European Union with a lot of haste, and we'll work a lot on this. And the last thing, of course, is everything that is related to biodiversity, to food systems, to nature, because this is where the Green Deal stopped in the last mandate. We did a lot of work on energy, on climate, especially on CO2 emissions. But then it stopped. It stopped because the pesticides lobby, because the chemical lobbies, they came up and they said, we can't go on anymore, you need to stop. And there it was stopped. The pesticide legislation was stopped. The water resilience was stopped. The food, the sustainable food systems was stopped. And the revision of REACH was stopped. And on all of these issues, we need to move forward. We need to keep on pushing for this to happen. As I said before, some of these needed reforms are in the pact of von der Leyen, if I may call it this way, others are not. And we will keep on fighting in order to get them and to protect the lives of the Europeans.
Thank you very much. Okay, so take the floor now. We will begin with the conclusion of the workshops organized before the conference, and I invite young Europeans to present the results. So, Cyprien, Elisabeth, and Joseph, if you can go, the floor is yours, and you can maybe introduce your work.
Thank you, Hervè. Thank you, Matteo. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. MEPs, for being with us tonight. It's a real pleasure and honor to be able to participate to this conference. We are, of course, delighted to have this Federalist melting pot of ideas and brewing with ideas, especially in JEF Strasbourg. 2 weeks ago, we attended an event which was called the YFED, the 3rd edition of this project. So just to give you a small summary of what YFED is, it's a simulation of a European federal institution. So for the whole week, participants coming from all of Europe had the opportunity to represent a representative of the European citizens or the member states, for journalists or lobbyists, but the setting was a little bit different than in the usual European simulations, because here the institutions were designed to be federal, and the idea of this simulation is to say that in a federal setting we can achieve better and more efficient policy outcomes. This project is derived from an older project which is called the European Youth Convention, which tried actually to design a constitution for Europe, and we used it as a constitutional basis for this project. And for the third edition of WIFED, we identified 3 topics that we discussed in the workshops. So we'll have the opportunity to discuss one topic at a time. In my workshop, we talked about the topic of citizenship, and more specifically in a federation, how we would achieve European citizenship, not a citizenship attached to national systems, but really a true autonomous citizenship. And it was mainly organized around 3 axes. The first one being really the rights of European citizens, as in the current EU, but also duties, because in member states we have some obligations. We must pay taxes, we must respect the values of our member states more generally, we need to respect the rules, and for that we wanted to apply the same system but at the European level. And lastly, we wanted also to specify the reasons, the condition on how you would become a European citizen, whether by grants, by claim, but also the condition on which you could lose it, for example, for reason of treason and that stuff. And what was really interesting from those discussions is that we didn't actually talk about this. Rather, we talked about the context in which European citizenship has to be applied. Because European citizenship cannot be applied, cannot be fulfilled without addressing a more general issue, which is the democratic deficit. And so with the participants, actually, we discussed mostly about 2 solutions to this democratic deficit. Because let's face it, today, and this is mostly the reason why the far right is rising in the European Parliament, is that there is a huge mistrust, rising mistrust coming from European citizens, and we must address it. And so for that, we came to 2 conclusions. The first, that we need to communicate and to educate the European citizens on what the EU is currently achieving. And this is also a really problem that we try to tackle with JEF. For 20 years we have been in schools and we have seen a general apathy, if not a mistrust, coming from European citizens, but also schools, because there is no national education program regarding the EU. And the second problem is the absence of a European public sphere. There isn't really media coverage in the national media. At least this is an issue identified by the members of the workshop. But what they proposed was that media, of course, would have a better coverage of European political topics, but also, yes, oh, sorry, okay. Okay.
La main sur le micro.
Sorry for the problem. Okay, and so lastly, it was also the responsibility of the political parties, because the political parties, at least at the national level, and some of them also from the pro-European coalition, sometimes use some anti-European or Eurosceptic speeches actually to promote their ideas and their ideas. And so what the participants from the workshop wanted was more accountability regarding the information and the programs spread by political parties. So my question to end this presentation will be, how can political groups and political parties at the national level can become more accountable about what they say on European news? So thank you, and we'll be glad to hear your answers.
We continue with the 3 presentations and now we will
Okay, hello. I hope everyone can hear me well. So today I'll be presenting a little bit of the results from our social committee, and we were discussing a lot of different topics, and something that I have noticed the same similar topics we have discussed throughout the WIFED were also discussed today within the debate, and it really shows that there are very similar things that all of the young people are worried about. So the 3 key main proposals that we have had throughout the WIFED simulation, these were the reduction of the working hours, comprehensive parental leave. We also had a topic of the establishment of the Federal Pension Fund, and then connected to that point also establishment of the European Labour Agency. And also within the debate today especially, we have discussed the policies within the different countries because we have had a lot of members from different countries. We had some participants from Estonia, we had some participants from Poland, from Italy, from France. I'm coming from Germany myself. So the topic that we have discussed was actually a very pragmatic approach in terms of we should really look at different countries and see how they are tackling the problems currently. So we would be looking over at Spain with the 4-day working week, or we would be looking over to France with 35 hours working week, or even to Greece who have increased their working hours to 6. And the proposal from the young people's side was also to look what is the most effective and efficient way to handle all of these problems, and how to make people and workers actually more efficient, more effective, and also more satisfied with their own jobs. And also another big issue that all of the young people at one point or another are worried about, and probably this issue also worries a lot of older people. It is the point with the pensions. How are we going to secure pension funds? And my question to all of you would be, what do you think is the main problem in the current European Union regarding the social policy, and what would be the key aspects that you would want to approach as a first legislative period?
Thank you. Great presentation.
Hello. So I was a member of the budget committee at YFED, where most of our discussion was directed towards funding the European Federation and finding resources that we could utilize as a federation. The first issue that we tried to tackle was the unification of the tax system, with the objective to create a stable economy while keeping it equal between the member nations. And in today's discussions, we went over how this might hurt smaller nations that currently get an advantage from their lower tax rates when compared to maybe some bigger economies in Europe. We also emphasized the importance of tax collection on different levels of government, and the importance of progressive tax systems in order not to hurt smaller businesses in Europe. The second objective was the creation and keeping of clean financial systems, more specifically carbon tax revenue, where we at the YFED discussions agreed on keeping the current carbon credit system while applying an additional tax on the carbon credits, which would create additional revenue for the Federation. And in today's discussion, we agreed on keeping the system, while also emphasizing the support of companies who are currently transitioning into greener methods, and also supporting citizens of the Federation of Europe who might feel the impact of carbon taxes more. And thirdly, the handling of debt and transparency within the Federation, keeping all of the funding equal, where we agreed on the importance of an independent institution in Europe that would oversee all of the tax collection and various revenue sources, while we had a very good civil debate over the federalization of all debt in Europe, where we did not reach a final conclusion, but I think we had a very good discussion on that. And keeping in mind the vulnerabilities of a federalized economy that consists of many multiple smaller nation states, and the strength of one bigger economic force that has diversity. My question to end this discussion is, how will further federalization of the European economy impact its stability? Thank you.
It's to answer these questions, we need also to keep in mind that we need to speed up because time is running out. I would like to start with Željana Zovko Younger generations have many expectations, worries, and also propositions. And you, as EPP Group, you bear a specific and also particular responsibility as you are the largest group in the European Parliament. It's about to the future generations.
My vision and my proposal for the future generation is to get used to hard work. That's that's the first time, first thing that they don't have to face in the future. Ursula von der Leyen said something very interesting in her speech, and it is that we have to face this new disease, and that's social networks and total lack of focus that we have with the new generation. And I think that as someone who has gone through hardship, I don't have any other recipe for the new generation, as my nephew and niece are going through the same thing. They have learned the hardest things, that they have to study. Otherwise, they're going to do really basic jobs like I did when I was left without everything. And that they have to acquire necessary skills for all the jobs. Housing issue that Ursula von der Leyen mentioned today is present everywhere in the European Union. Croatia, I live in Split, that has doubled or I think tripled in the prices of a square meter, and it's impossible as a victim of its success for a young person to acquire an apartment. So I think that the place is to have a family, to raise a family for the younger generation. This generation is something that is making them also quite depressed, and they cannot think about future. These are some of the issues that we have to face with. But honestly, there is no recipe for the new generation. The only recipe is that we have to preserve jobs, we have to invest in small and medium enterprises, and we cannot rely only on the young generation that they will change everything if they get to some positions. When I finished my university, my brother told me, "You're going to be director now." I said, "No, I have to go back to my basic job in order to acquire necessary skills." Because I live in London, so and I understand very well why UK has not understood the logics that works in European Union. Because logic that works in some of the European countries are very much socialist, like in former Yugoslavia. That social welfare will be forever, and that's not the case. At times when we have economic crisis, and we have faced economic crisis due to the Russian aggression on Ukraine, the changes in the energy availability due to the pandemic. So this generation is going through the crisis, and their parents have not prepared them that the life is not will not be perfect. Maybe I have gone through the same crisis when I was 22, but we had those who survived the toughest one have made it. But I think that my party and my group is quite realistic. We are trying to give them jobs. We are trying to make the framework also for the industry to stay in the European Union, and to encourage them not to go abroad, not to follow these calls from the United States of America. Like big industries, we want them to be here, to be in Europe, to be there at disposal of the young people. I want them as well to have, for young people, to have a balanced pay. I know that the difference from certain countries to country is quite huge. The pay for the internship, for first jobs, sometimes it's like slavery. what is happening when I heard in European Union in certain countries, which is quite shameful. But I think that the flexibility also must be there, that not only bureaucracy drives on these deals. We had to learn something from UK that the contract should be finished soon, and those who are skilled should advance, and not that unions are thriving on the problems that young people are having. So I'm just very much business orientated. I've seen what socialism, so-called socialism, has done to former Yugoslavia. It resulted in a big war and disappointment when the money ran out. But I think that we have to be realistic. We have to really help the industry. We have to help the economy. But also we have to start telling the truth to young people, that they have to live, they have to find their way around the world themselves.
Thank you, Željana. Zovko, Sandro. On the same, so we continue, we try to speed up the questions on the young people, we have all these questions, we try to sum up.
Okay. On the point of the younger people, three reactions. First, when I would really insist on citizen and citizenship rights, and there is only also one issue which concerns me directly, as one of those 14 million citizens who live in a different country from the country where I was born. And guys, we have a huge problem. They don't know the rights. 40 million citizens. It's an average member state. They don't know that they can vote and be elected to the local elections and to the European elections. They don't know that. They don't know what European citizenship, which is there since 1992, provide for them. You see that here we have a huge problem of implementation, information, and awareness. It's very important. Second, to the citizens, I want to ensure the right to freely move, but I want also to ensure the right to stay. There are too many inequalities, territorial inequalities and social inequalities, that oblige people to leave the region, to leave their country, to go elsewhere. I want to give real opportunities to choose whether I want to go or I want to build up my future, my personal, family, professional future in the place where I was born. On that, we have a huge problem in Europe, and we have advanced. Third point is the issue of investment. I mean, you have mentioned Inflation Reduction Act. Inflation Reduction Act is a huge amount of money that has been put on the table to promote investment and to attract investment. We have to carry out an equivalent investment policies, both public and private, at European level, to boost competitiveness, to boost SME, to bet on artificial intelligence, to bet on the digital revolution. And it is clear that at European level means to work out on new own resources. Because we fool ourselves if we think that we are going to do even only those things that Ursula von der Leyen declared today and on which we have elected her. If we can't believe that we can implement those priorities with this budget, with these resources, with 1% of the overall European GDP. So that is my third answer to the very good work of our young Europeans.
I cannot agree more, because also if you look at the program that was presented today by Madame von der Leyen, very good projects, initiatives, but the question is, how are we going to finance them? But it's different. I would like to come back to 3 points that you presented. I think the first is European citizenship. And I think we lost a bit this debate that we had 10 years ago, very intensive, because I think it's very important that if you look at the last elections, you can complain about that the right-wing extremists got stronger, but we can also see that many young people voted for them. and I'm sure that many of them are not right-wing extremists, but something is not working for the young people, and we have to really have a totally different approach here. We have to go into really in-depth debates with young people on the ground. We have to involve the youth organizations. We have to do it, and we have to talk with the young people about their perspectives. Because otherwise, I fear that this will just continue. And to listen a lot about the concerns. And to come back, if I look at this generation, they are mobile in Europe. You mentioned the mobile European citizens. They are living what we are talking about, Europe. You go into another country, you have the opportunity. No one can discriminate you. But if you look, for example, and I know what I am talking about because I was the rapporteur on this coordination of social security, it's bloody complex. And anyone that experienced these things, what the hell, why can't they come up with better solutions here? And I still think that what we could do is to be a bit more visionary. I think we have to find a solution there, but also we have a lot of people that live permanently in another country, or sometimes even in different. Why not doing a 28th regime in social security that is a European one, and that creates also European identity, instead of when you move from one system to another, and then maybe in old age you move back. It's very complicated. You lose a lot of entitlements. You don't know your rights. It's very complex because we not only have different social security regimes, we have different tax regimes afterwards when you receive a pension from different member states. Crazy, I think here, to be a bit more sort of courageous and think about could be one of the good projects for the future here. I think the question of what you mentioned in the social group, this question of time sovereignty, I think is an important thing for many people in Europe. And how there are different models, different ideas, different practices in Europe. You can have working time accounts. We don't, have these strict regimes anymore. You can save time that you can use, for example, when you become a parent. So, but we need to increase this time sovereignty for the people working. There will be different models, not an ideal one, but I think also this is something we have to reflect, because what we see is, on one hand, I talked about the skills shortage, but we also have many people. For example, I have a sister that is an intensive care nurse. A lot of people are never able to work until they get their pensions, because it is such an intensive work. There's always a shortage of labor. That means you have to take the next shift from your colleague because he got sick, etc. So if we don't improve also working conditions, the skills shortage in some sectors will increase, and we need modern good solutions for that here. I think to choose tax policies is very ambitious with the federalist vision, where even small steps are already quite complicated here. But I think it is indeed very important, and you mentioned this question also of transparency here to increase. But what I like most about, and I think we have a time where we also have an opportunity for different federalist discourses. I mean, if I look at the right wing, and I was the rapporteur on the report on treaty changes, the right wing side, the ECR colleague, always said, this bloody federalists, they want to kill the nation state, and they want to centralize everything in Brussels. And they don't understand federalism, that it's not about centralism, in the opposite. And then we have this debate in some areas, not in all areas. More federalism, more Europe, can deliver better results than the current thing. But we have to identify this, look at the areas. I think energy policy, security, there are different areas. And I think to emphasize that in the end, citizens profit from more federalized policy areas in Europe could be a good approach to come out of this debate. Are you in favor or against treaty changes? But to say, how can we deliver better for citizens in the future?
Thank you very much. I'm sorry to need to precise this once again, but we need to speed up because we have the questions of the audience and then a cocktail that is waiting for us. So many things were said by your colleague, and maybe a quick reaction, and then we open the floor to the audience.
Okay, no, I want to say, you see, I said we shouldn't look at pro-European forces as only one alternative, but we do share a lot of values, because they share what Sandro said about investments. Of course, this is obvious, and also what you said about European citizenship and all the rest that you developed. So this is one good news as well, that we share so many values together. But what I would tell you 3 things, but I would tell you quick, because I don't have the time, and we have a cocktail waiting for us. But the first thing, and it's not directly related to your work, and thanks a lot for your work, this is really precious, but the first thing is that you need to fight, and you need to be ready to fight. Because the European project, its values, peace and shared prosperity, we need to fight over them. It's just like women's rights, actually. It's never definitively acquired. You always have to fight for it. And I think that we can see that in Ukraine, we can see that in Armenia, of which we don't talk enough. We can see that, of course, with Israel and Palestine. We always need to fight for peace. And we always need to fight for prosperity, and we always need to fight for this prosperity to be shared. The second thing is, don't be afraid. Because I can also see that too much anxiety blocks us from moving on. And I think that too much anxiety is also at the roots of the emergence of the far-right voters everywhere around the world, actually. We are afraid of losing who we are. We are afraid of having to leave our territory, our home, when we don't want to. We are afraid that we won't have work, that we won't be able to finance our pensions. But if we look at it with this fierce will of changing the world, I think we can also get what's best of it, actually. And look at the green transition, for instance. The green transition, it's more jobs. So if we manage to go towards the green transition, there will be more jobs. We can share more jobs, so we can find some time for us, for our families, for leisure, I don't know what you want to do. And this is also living in better health. So it's living longer, with a longer time, and you might need a bit more pensions, but maybe you'll be able to buy more, I don't know, and it's going to be better. So the important thing also is be ready to fight, but also don't be afraid of what's coming, because being afraid is the best way of getting a life. I don't know how to say that. And the third thing is, when we talk about European democracy, I think we should be careful about not mixing it with the market, and especially on fiscal issues. And as for now, we have unanimity and not a majority, and we're all here pushing for getting towards a majority vote. When we need to raise some taxes, we go towards the market. And the carbon tax, the ETS, is exactly about it. We were not able to take decisions in a unanimous way because some member states were blocking. So the way out of it was the market. But this is bad. This is bad because this is not fair. And about the carbon tax, we already saw that the carbon tax in France wasn't fair enough, wasn't just enough. So we need to change the system, but putting it on the market, we don't control anything anymore, or almost anything anymore. And in this way, it's going to cost more for the people who have the least, and it's going to cost more for the people who are compelled to take the cars to go to work. So we cannot mix that, and this is one of the reasons why we urgently need to have this treaty change and to push for another Europe, because this cannot be the way. And if you want a fair and green and democratic and pro-human rights and pro-women rights and pro-LGBTQI rights, we need to have more European Union, more integrated European Union.
Thank you, Marie Toussaint.
Okay, now it's your turn. So please, short questions and short answers. That's the rule for the moment. Okay, we have a question here. We will take 3 questions for the first round, and we will try to finish. You can ask in French, and we can translate.
Okay, so thank you for your presentation, each of you. And this question is for all of you. I don't discriminate. So this morning I was at the plenary session at the European Parliament, and I couldn't help but see the far-right MP doing the scandal and presenting this frame, this religious frame, when Valérie Ayé has started to talk about how important it is to internalize abortion in the European Constitution. So my question is, it's not a question, but it's rather a comment. What do you think about this, and doesn't this actually predict something very bad for the European Parliament in the future?
Thank you very much. Another question? Yes? Here?
Thank you for being here. So, my question is, you're all from different political groups who voted in majority in favor of President von der Leyen. And I would like to know, how do you think different political groups will cooperate, knowing that, for instance, some members of the EPP political group wanted to review part of the Green Deal, and at the same time, the S&D group stated the condition to vote in favor of Ursula von der Leyen to not review this Green Deal.
Thank you very much. I will go there. Please raise your hand if you have a question.
Can we see how many questions are there in the room? Could you raise your hand if you want to ask a question? All those who want to ask a question.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes. Thank you very much. Hello, my name is Željana. I come from Tirana, Albania. And my question, although I've seen that the discussion is more about EU integration, EU internal dimension, but I have a question about the future of the European Union and the Western Balkans. It's been 20 years since the Thessaloniki summit, and we see that the Western Balkan countries are slowly advancing into the EU integration process, but we are not there yet. And we have other actors in the region, such as Turkey and China and even Russia, who are interested and are capturing some of the countries. And what would be, according to you, the future of the relations between the European Union and the Western Balkans in terms of speeding up the integration process, considering also all these external risks? Thank you.
Any other questions, please raise your hand. One there, and then one there. Okay.
What do you want to do in that's heaven? Because if you want to have one economy of Europe, we can't have that's heaven. And now we have what you want to do before to solve this problem?
I would like to ask a question directly to the Croatian member of parliament. I will not try to pronounce her name because I won't say it difficult.
Željana Zovko.
While your French colleague was speaking, she said that you were all in favor of the change of the treaties, of the current treaties, and you laughed in a very unprofessional way. I would like to ask you, are you or are you not with the change of the treaties?
Okay, we see this. Let's start with the Archbishop and then we follow you.
So very short answers. In our report to treaty changes, we had an amendment regarding abortion and reproductive rights, and it got a majority, and it was supported by the majority of the parliament. I said, indeed, I think we will have in the next months a competition of the most crazy political groups, and they will compete with each other who is the most crazy. And we have to deal with it, we have to find solutions. I was responsible in the last 5 years on the rules of procedure. After today I thought, okay, let's have a look at the rules again, and maybe where we can have a look to improve this. But this is something in many national parliaments. People know, have experienced, found solutions. I'm quite optimistic that we will also do here. I think Ursula von der Leyen promised she sticks to the Green Deal here, and this is something where we have to hold her accountable, and also we will see that when we discuss the programs of whoever will be the commissioner for the Green Deal. Western Balkans, I think that was one of the major mistakes Europe did in the past in not doing it, and that member states could, with reasons I will not comment, but just say diplomatically, not always really rational reasons, could upheld it, and I think indeed we have to speed up, and because otherwise it is too late here, because we can see already a huge generation in Western Balkan countries that have lost the hope in this process. And this gives the room for Russia, for China to go in. And I think we have to understand that this is essential for Europe here. And this is why I think enlargement will be a huge topic in the next 5 years. It will set the agenda very much. Tax havens, I think we need to do more about it, but I also said how complicated it is also with the competences, and also that if you have tax havens and you have unanimity, it's a little bit like that you want to clean up something, but if it's not in your interest, and you can block it with an easy veto, nothing will move. So we did some little steps, as I said, but there is still a lot to do, because otherwise it's a real threat to Europe. We can see that already. And also that people lose their hope, because if I talk to someone that sells newspapers and drinks in my town, a 7-Eleven shop, and they think we pay more taxes than huge companies, this is a threat for society that we have to change up here. But this is why I hope if we focus on treaty changes, I think tax policies should be a part of it, but I also am realistic and I know that this is very complicated and most probably unlikely, if I'm really honest. But let's see. In this sense, we have to push for it and continue there to build broad alliances.
Because I agree on his right and on Pastelli, so I don't answer the question. Si evolve, si Gabi. On Green Deal and on Western Balkan issue. On Green Deal, the question is who is going to pay, and who is going to be left behind. We don't want anybody to be left behind. We don't want the farmer or the ordinary citizens to pay for the Green Deal. So the point is to introduce financial and social flanking measures, which must accompany the implementation of the Green Deal. This is the key question. And on this, I think that the previous Commission should have done more and better. And I don't know how many times I say to my friend Franz Timmermans, you must be very clear, much clearer on the resources. We started with the social transition, the Just Transition Fund. These are the kind of answers, but we haven't given all the answers. And this is the point. On the Western Balkans, I'm very sensitive. My first experience as a diplomat was in Sarajevo during the war. So you can imagine how much I'm personally attached to the Western Balkans, how much I know the region, how much I'm going to be frank with you. First, yes, it is true. Now in the Balkans there is a geopolitical competition. There is a competition between the actors that you mentioned. Turkey, China, Russia, and the European Union. So it is clear that we have to accelerate the unification. To accelerate the unification, we must be both much more convinced and convincing in implementing the reforms. Because the Western Balkans are lagging behind also because they do not reform enough. And we are slow because it is clear that we cannot enlarge without having reformed the Union. So when we talk about reforms, they have to reform on a merit base, but it is clear that even without Ukraine, only with the Western Balkans, the Union could not function. So both homework, the homework must be done in the Western Balkans, the homework must be done in the European Union, and so again, changing the governance of the European Union, make it fit for the purpose, make it ready to open our doors to the new members using the single market, to progressively integrate the candidate countries into specific aspects of the single market and to be common policy in a much more dynamic way compared to what we have done in the previous big enlargement. And allow me, as you come from Albania, I'm elected in France, but I'm from Italy. Your Prime Minister doesn't need to buy all the propaganda of Giorgia Meloni to be a member of the European Union. Albania will become a member of the European Union even if Edi Rama doesn't buy the propaganda of migration of Giorgia Meloni with a crazy bilateral agreement of migration. So if you can send this message from our part.
On the Balkans, just to add some stuff, but I really do believe indeed that the fact that we take so long, that there is signs of reluctance for this enlargement is really not helping. It's not helping for the geopolitical competition, but it's also creating a lot of frustration. And for instance, I'm pretty sure that the reluctance of the European Union has fed the vote in favor of Erdogan, has fed the vote in favor of the peace in Poland, has fed the vote in favor of Orban when it took us so long to get them in. So we really need to move quickly in order to be able to enlarge us. But this is also, of course, about the functioning of the European Union, and especially on this majority issue. But this is also, and I want to bring it on the table as well, this is also about fighting against social, economic, and environmental dumping. This is also about harmonizing by above the working conditions, the wage conditions, and the environmental norms. I'm talking about it because if you remember well, we had all this discussion about agriculture in the months of the campaign, of the mobilization of the farmers. And a lot of them were saying, we can't go on, because in the country that is the neighbor of me, like for instance from France, it was with Spain, they use this and this pesticide that we don't have the right to use, and this is creating competition. So would it be for the Balkans, or for Ukraine, or for whichever country that wants to belong to the political project that is the project of the European Union? They're welcome, but we need that the European Union work in a better way. We need more progressive but ongoing integration, enlargement movements, dynamics, processes, and we also need to make the European Union work at its best level for each and every single citizen of the European Union. Sorry. I'm still a bit sick. Secondly, on the Green Deal, I will go really fast. We need to have ambitions on the environment that is in line with scientific recommendations. We need to respect the planetary boundaries, and we need the European Union to incorporate an environmental ceiling made by those planetary boundaries. But we also need a social floor. And this is the space, maybe some of you know the theory of the donut, but this is the space in which we should operate, and the Green Deal needs to have its two legs, the economic one, the investment one, as Sandro was saying, and the social one. And social justice is key for the green transition. Last thing, about this Romanian crazy person. We already have crazy extreme right people in the last mandate. When we voted on the renovation of houses, there was this crazy guy, I don't know if it was from ID or non-described or whatever, But he took his whistle, and he whistled, and he raised it. There you go. There you go then. Yeah. So I think we're going to have indeed more and more of those. But the thing I want to say about what happened this morning is about what Spinelli said about recognizing the right to abortion in the European Charter of Human Rights. And this we absolutely need to do. And of course this is difficult. But there is a strong solidarity between European women and with the support of a lot of European men. So we need to go through this path, we need to fight, we need to gather all the Europeans that want their rights to be respected, and we need to reach that out, and I really thank Valerie for what she has said today. I think this is the most important part to remember.
Thank you, Željana, Zovko. Final word for you.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for inviting me to this very impressive school meeting, and also for the young people who spoke so nicely. I didn't, when I referred to the young people, I wasn't thinking about your presentation, so well done, I forgot to say. For your exercise, that's something very impressive. And the whole federalist exercise, I'm not part of the group, but I'm just very well acquainted with this house and with the president.
We need to specify. The event of today was a combination of Fédéralistes members, Spinelli Group, and European Parliamentary Association. Željana, Zovko is a proud member of our association, as Mr. Gozi, Ms. Bischoff, and hopefully soon
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, because I just felt like I crashed a party here. Like I'm a party breaker, and to explain to a young man who addressed me why did I laugh. My laugh was orientated towards I didn't expect this sort of debate in tonight's meeting. So if you felt I don't know, strange why I was laughing with Matteo, it was that. So I just felt like a party break tonight, and I wanted the explanations. But what we need, maybe I would just like to refer Sandro Gozi, whom I know for many years, and he was a great in his role as well as a Secretary of State in Italy for European integration, and he did a great role, played a great role for promoting Croatia's membership. So I want to thank you for what you have done for Croatia at the time of Romano Prodi. I think that we need political encouragement for the Western Balkan countries, and for me it was a big encouragement that Ursula von der Leyen today once again asked for confidence with having in mind the Western Balkan as a security issue, as well as Ukraine and Moldova and Georgia. Because my specialty is more peace and security and foreign policy, and what she was talking about, that enlargement is a tool for the security and for securing our borders, and also getting rid of these influences that the young lady spoke about, that we have seen in Western Balkan, and that we don't want to see as well here in France or anywhere else, because young people, unfortunately, they left, and this brain drain is affecting greatly Western Balkan area. But lots of them are returning. Thanks to the fact that in Germany is not, they don't find it so sunny in their home places. So lots of them, they're returning, and this new growth pact and mechanism is giving them a big opportunities. I was rapporteur, and I invested quite a lot of effort to fight Commission to have these amendments on investing in human capacities, and to encourage young people as well to invest, to use this money, to use these funds. I mean, European enlargement is a process. I was negotiating these microstates, Andorra, San Marino, and Monaco. They don't want to be European Union. I mean, they live perfectly, and I was ambassador there. They live perfectly, but they want to have a good single market. They want to have vaccines. I mean, even during the vaccines, San Marino could not get the vaccine in Andorra. They were totally isolated, and the pastors asked me to write to the Commission. I mean, they were treated like the third countries. So even these Western open countries, I mean, we need to reform for them to live well. I think most of the Germans would like to retire there. I don't know if that's the advocating for the social welfare system to be, the pensions to be affordable everywhere. But I know for all these returnees pensioners in Western Balkan countries that they have big issues how to get their pension back home. So this is the question. I think that investing in peace and security is investing in these areas, investing for people to stay, for young people to stay, to thrive as well. And then we will not need soldiers, we will not need more police forces. We don't have a physical protection like we had for centuries from the problems that might arise on our borders. So that's my conclusion.
Thank you very much. So Gabrielle, Bischoff, Sandro, Gozi, Moritz, Željana, Zovko, thank you very much for the discussion. We have some gifts from you, from the UEF France and Fédéralistes, one of our partners from tonight. So thank you very much for this very interesting discussion. And again, I want also to thank the organizer of this conference. So, first of all, the European Parliamentary Association, thank you very much. Hervè, thank you very much, Matteo, for their organization. Also the Spinelli Group, UEF, JEF Europe, also the European movement. And I want also to give a special thanks for Ilaria, to Tristan, Alexandre, Cyprien, Chloé, Olalla, all the volunteers also involved in the organization. So thank you very much. And now I think the conference is over.